identify pro-black.
History is about teaching us as a war.
I want to speak about the image of our people. We have to be protective of our image.
Our ancestors, they were oppressed, and we are oppressed today.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? This is Jah and that's Kev over there, and we have a show for you all today. And I'm telling you now, we want y'all to sit down and relax, and because this subject, it has to be had. In fact, I was minding my own business and this brother sent me a video and I said, well, what are we going to be doing for our broadcast? And he said, so we have to do it. But in fact, what we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to turn it over to him, we're going to ask a question tonight, and we hope everyone could join in and just tell us your take. The question is this: is this our fight? And say, well, what do you mean, is this our fight? I'm sure everybody, ICE, the government of the United States of America, taking brown people and sending them all across the water wherever they can, going into grocery stores and, nabbing people. But the question still remains, is this our fight? So, Kev, I want you to open up and give me just a little bit more, because this thing here was hot.
Yeah, I think that if we look at the temperature of the country, everything that's happening with the ICE police going through and grabbing people up, taking even kids out of school, the deportations that's happening, and then now we have the civil unrest where we have all these protests. The president called the National Guard, and now he's deploying the military in American cities for what's reasonably a peaceful protest. So this is a big topic and a big thing that's going on. But like you said, the question is this our fight, meaning the Black community? And a lot of us have a lot of Hispanic and Latino allies, and we have to ask ourselves. I got into a conversation with a friend of mine last week when all this stuff erupted. And we were talking about that. That was a serious conversation. Like, where do we stand with all of this? And it's been that for the last, probably 8 years or so, when he was last president, Trump. And they were doing the same thing, and probably under Biden administration. And it's probably been going on before that at the border patrols and all these things like that. But it's like, do we engage in that, But now that it's protests going on, that's the thing. I mean, we're not going to get out and protest for them, but where do we stand?
We got to have some kind of take on this, because this is very important. And we both agree. I know we both agree that what they're doing now, as far as just grabbing anybody and just locking them up and all that, we know that's not right. But we want to look at this whole idea of this ICE. What does that stand for, ICE? Well, that's concept. The ICE stands for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. This is basically a federal government agency that's responsible for enforcing immigration laws. And so the question is this our fight as African Americans? And again, I don't want to be redundant, but we really would want you to call in to tell us what you think about this, because I know I have a take on this, Kevin. I mean, it may not be popular, but I'm not into this for popularity. But what I wanted to talk about was, many people African Americans feel that this is not our fight. And they have reasons to believe why this is not our fight. And we definitely want to talk about the context. And again, the context matters. And when I say the context matters, I'm looking at, when you look at history, and I got to go back, historically speaking, no one wanted to fool with us African Americans. Nobody wanted to touch us, with a 10-foot pole. Everybody that came over here, and I'll get into that a little bit more about how when they came, when I say they, people from Central America, South America, when they came, they didn't want to associate with us. And now, because of what's going on with this ICE and all of the things that President Trump and this government is doing to them, now they feel like we are obligated, man. They feel like we are obligated to help them. And I just don't think that that's the way it should be, because we have enough issues ourselves. And we're going to ask some other critical questions about, well, where were you when we were going through? Because you had a right to help, but you chose not to. But now you're trying to make it seem like it's our fault because you're going through. Now that's to those who are that way. I know you told me some statistics that were staggering. You went back to the vote. I want you to share that with me, the vote.
All right. Yeah. So what I was looking at, my first that's how you feel. That's your
that's my take.
The Black community should not be involved in any protest.
No.
just not don't care.
well, we care because we're human, but I'm looking at the law of reciprocity, you know, and I'm looking at all the things we've been through in this country. No one has stood up for us, and we can't be lackeys every time something happens, but yet no one tries to come to us. When Trayvon Martin was killed, you know, when George Floyd was killed, you know, we can go on and on and on. So when you look at it, now we're not saying that no one has stepped up for us, but as a group of people, we don't see numbers that we should see. So why should we be engaged in something like that's not fair? It's not even right.
And the video that you spoke on, it was 3 Latino people and they were having a podcast, and the guy started off saying, you know, it's pissing me off basically because he was talking about black people, the people help us, you know, like, you know, y'all should get engaged in this. And the guy that was the head of the podcast was like, well, let me stop you right there. Why are we asking for help? And then he was talking about the vote and the polls. So what I did, I looked at the polls. I wanted to verify what he was saying. And what you're talking about in the exit polls, after the elections, and the Latino / Hispanic vote, they voted for Trump. It was an increase of 13%. So basically, the articles are saying that the Hispanic Latino they won the election for Trump. So and if I look at it, and people say, well, you know, if you think of the 2020 elections with Biden and Trump, and many of us feel like the black community won the elections for Biden. And but if we look at since then, the 2024 vote, the statistics say white people were -3% ratio for Trump. That means he lost 3% of the people that voted for him in 2020. The black vote was even. It was like 0. We didn't increase or decrease, but meaning everybody that voted for Trump that was black, they voted for him again. Everybody that didn't, basically did. It was no turnover. The Latino vote increased by 13.
Wow.
So then you look at Texas, a red state, it was 55% Hispanic. 55% of the Hispanics voted for Trump. If you look at California, 9 out of the 12 heavily populated Latino counties in California voted for they voted a majority of Trump. So he and in fact, I'm gonna put this out there too. Trump had the highest Republican president Latino vote in the history of the United States. He beat out George Bush, who had previously had the highest in 2004. So Trump got most of the more Latino votes than any president, Republican president in history. So now it's like, okay, this is what you voted for. If we look at it as a group, you know, I'm not talking individuals. I'm looking at it as a group. Y'all are in a conflict with each other. You know, if it's 55 to 45 here in Texas, y'all's a conflict with y'all divided. And then if you're voting for him, a majority, not a majority of the Latinos or the Hispanics, period, but a higher number have voted for him, then and you knew what he was about. It ain't like he just, you know, flipped the script or he promised something like Biden did with us or something, or these presidents do with people. They make all these promises and then they get in there and they flip the script. You knew what he was before when he ran for president before.
And my thing, Kev, is when you look at the numbers, you would have to agree that it was a lot of the Latino men who pushed him over the top, you see. And my take on that is this. Okay, you didn't want to vote for a black woman, you see, but you wanted to vote for a white man. It's like helping a snake when a snake is sick. Once the snake gets well, and then the snake bites you and you start crying, oh, I've been bitten, I've been bitten. Well, it's a snake, it's gonna bite you. So you should expect that, you see.
And they, like I said, they knew what they were doing and they made a choice, and that's fine. I mean, you can make your choice and you know, cast your votes and do all of that, but don't throw that rock and hide your hand. Or some of them standing on that. You know, like I sent you another video, and that was kind of odd. The thing with the other video was it was the TYT, which is the Young Turks channel, and they were talking about the Hispanic vote. And so they were speaking some of the Latinos for Trump, some of those people, the MAGA Latinos and things, and they were saying, yeah, you know, they down with this ICE and immigration, deportation, and all the stuff. Like, get the Mexicans out of these Mexican people saying this.
Yeah.
And one of the ladies that they interviewed on her, she was an illegal alien at one time back in the 80s. Her family got amnesty through Ronald Reagan's program, Amnesty Act, that got like 3 million illegal aliens. They were able to become citizens. So she was able to become a citizen, her and her little family. And then now she's here saying, get those Mexicans out of there. And I mean, this is not us. So to me, it's a conflict within the family here. And this is not our fight there. Because if you're voting for this, some of y'all are, y'all fighting each other. Ask for each other for help. You know,
I'm going to tell you what I feel the problem is, and it always has been. And I'm just going to go ahead and ride this horse probably from now till the end of the broadcast, because I looked at the whys. Why would that many people vote for this man knowing his situation? Well, it goes back to this. When Latinos came in the United States of America, when Mexico became a part of the United States, as far as Texas, you know, Nevada, New Mexico, when they came in the 1800s, you know, the Treaty of Guadalupe, what they did was they came over, they wanted to be classified as white. I gotta say this, I'm gonna put it out there, and it's just the truth. They wanted to be white. So when they got that status of being white, they thought they were better than us. See, many of them did, because at that time, and even now, a lot of people don't want to associate themselves with the black man or the African American, but now they want to help. Not only that, Kev, in 1930, they classified them as Mexican. So they took them from white to Mexican. 1880, they were white. Then 1930, they were considered as Mexicans. And then they raised a lot of sand because they didn't want to be called Mexicans. So in 1940, they were classified as white again. Until from that day till now, they're classified as white because a lot of them want to side with the white man. They want to think like the white man. They even do us certain ways because they think the same way that the white man thinks of many of us. And not all of them, but many of them do. And we got to be honest about this discussion, because that's why those people were saying on that second video how they were trying to dog out their own people. They're in the same boat. They just happen to be here earlier.
Right. And it's like you got in and then you closed the door behind you.
Yeah.
And that's what she was, the lady on the video whose family was able to become citizens. She was like, it's different because these people that's coming over there, criminals, you know, is buying into that narrative. And I'm like, you know, of course, I'm not. Either way, you know, that's not my my issue. My issue is, or the question that I have is this our fight?
It's not,
you know, that you could clear that out in your own community, your own house or whatever. That's an in-house thing. But to me, before you look at us for help, because what the guy in the video was talking, like he was ready to start dogging black people. He's like, they're reluctant to get in our fight. And the guy was like, well, look at the statistics. Why should they? We did this to ourselves, many of us. So this is a thing you should be asking them for help. Us for help. We should be asking us and not nobody outside. So I agree with that. Now, I had a different perspective because my thing was a right and wrong issue. You know, it's the moral issue. And I'm looking at anyone who's in a situation around the world where they're being mistreated, you know, stereotyped and all this stuff. I think that's everyone's fight, of right and wrong. Now, I will stand with you, not literally,
I hear you.
I will figuratively stand with you. I wish them the best, but see, and I'm thinking a lot of the issues that we have, we're just two different cultures. You know, and a lot of the stuff that you brought up earlier when you started the whole civil rights movement. We were the catalyst for that.
Of course,
you're here living off of our roads, the bricks that we paved and bled for. And that goes not just for the Latinos, Hispanics, that's for everybody. All the diasporas that come here, the people even from the motherland that come here. You act different with us. We are the ones that drove that bus, and did all these things. So when you come here with a lot more comfort. And then you come here and then you look down on us. Now our Hispanics, like I looked up civil rights leaders, just Googled. I just Googled civil rights. I think it gave me 30 civil rights leaders. all of them was black. Now I know there was Cesar Chavez, but he wasn't really. They class. He was for the workers, the farmers and stuff. But it wasn't a civil rights issue. That's just like saying a union leader for your job or whatever. That's different. But I'm saying all these people.
That's good teaching, man.
Piggyback off of our struggle that we fought, and now you're still asking us to help you fight. But like you said, a lot of people don't engage in our efforts today.
No,
you know, the Black Lives Matter. Many of us, I remember on Facebook when Trayvon happened and all these things was happening with the police. A lot of people that wasn't us was telling us, well, you know, you don't know what they did wrong, or you know, y'all need to conduct yourselves differently in so many words when y'all engage with the police. And it's like we were losing friends in the workplace because we thought people were cool with us. And we got to differentiate between being cool and being friends. I don't have any friends that voted for Trump. I have people that I'm cool with, because we cool under these circumstances. If it's at the workplace, I'm cool with you, meaning I don't have a problem with you personally, but your political beliefs, your religious beliefs, that's you. So I don't care about that because we're not friends. But we have to differentiate as a people, of course, who we're cool with and who we're friends with.
Wow, that's excellent, man, because I totally agree with you 100%. I want to add to that because some of those people that are here now that are from these countries that are here, whether they're here legally or illegally, they are opportunists. In other words, Kev, they didn't want to associate with us when the chips were down with us. But now that they're going through their quagmire, they're going through all of their issues, now they want us to run and rescue them. And sometimes you have to think about, let's just say we did, which we won't. But if we did rescue them, I promise you, within the next probably 50 years, we're going to be against them because they're going to take the very things that we did to help them and try to exploit us. Many of them are like that. So we can't live in this, and I'm not saying you are, I'm just talking about us as a people, as a society. We can't live in this fantasy world to think that everybody that has an issue in the United States, we can come and save them, and not realize that a lot of the things that we're talking about, those very issues are going to come back and haunt us if these people get the power. You heard what they said about their own people, many of them.
Yeah. So, and I think it's just like, I look at a culture. I look at the culture when you wanted to bond with us, that was at the polls. You know, if anybody know me, I'm not into the voting thing, and I'm not into the politics like that, because to me, there are two wings, like W.E.B. Du Bois said, there are two wings, right wing, left wing, on the same bird. Right. So to me, that's how I feel. But knowing that this is what my people, my culture, my community, this is what they want. So I help that. And I say, okay, yeah, you can have my vote. I don't care. I don't place my trust in Biden or any Obama. I don't care who it is. I don't place my trust in that because that's just government. But my thing is, if you wanted to bond with us, and like we had this discussion about the African immigrants that come over here, some of them, a lot of them that we talked to, they was for Trump. You know, they're like, the hell with how y'all feel. You know, it's like, this is how we feel. And it's like, okay, so you separating from us when it comes to things that we have been fighting for and fighting against in this country before you got here. You're a guest. To me, you're still a guest. You know, you're new. And to me, it's like, okay, you're like, not even worried about our issues. So it's your issues, and then it's our issues, and it's their issues. So we could stay like that. When they start doing things and deporting you, and you think you're from the motherland and you think you're different, then I'm gonna, okay, you're different. You know what?
We wouldn't even benefit from it, man. What benefit? What kind of power would we get from aligning with other people? We don't get that.
I think it's strength in numbers. Like, and people, this is the flip side of that. They say, well, they divide and conquer, right? They say that the system, they will divide us and conquer us, and it's easier. Like with them, it's if they had our support, that would make their struggle stronger, right? But if they wanted our support, then you should have supported at the polls. That's what I say. It's a polarizing thing that you did amongst your community, and even with us, because you decided that you wanted to be against our cause, because we saw who he is. He was a loose cannon. When has Trump not been a loose cannon? His first term, he was hiring people, firing people, hiring people, firing people. He said discouraging things about the Mexicans. Called them rapists and all this stuff like this. And then so what you do, you put those things aside like it don't matter, because you are worried about your wealth or health, or even like this. A lot of the Latino people, they're Catholic. whatever your problem is with the liberals or the Democrats, maybe that's a religious thing. Then look for your religious institutions to be out there with you, and don't look for us, because you put that ahead, then have them people out there with you, and wonder where they're at and how they're able to gather people together and go against this deportation thing.
This is not our fight. And we can even look at this country we live in and see the turmoil that we're in, because there are other countries and nations are going to war with each other. And we stick our noses in that, and then it becomes our fight because we get caught up in that as a nation. And it's like that is really foolish, if you ask me. If two people are duking it out, and I know this is much more complex than what I'm about to say, but if two people are duking it out and it's a fair thing, and you're fighting, you're sitting back, you let them do what they're going to do. We have our own issues. We have police brutality that we're still fighting against. We still have the broadcast we did on gentrification. We still have unequal housing. We still have what they're doing to us as a people individually. So we still have fight in us that we have to fight. So before we can start swinging and throwing blows, you fighting with this enemy in front of you, but yet one of your hands you fighting. That doesn't make sense.
And then that person that you're trying to help fight, they got people in their family helping the enemy that we fighting. You voting for him, you backing him. So that's why I say that's an in-house thing. So I mean, I hope they win. I'm not for anybody being in cages. I'm not even for anybody, like, if you're Mexican, this is your land. You were here. You're a Native American. So I'm not even for that. They moved the border back on them. And I tell, and it's crazy because being in San Antonio, this is a highly heavy Mexican population. But I see the diversity even within them. I have friends, a lot of co-workers, and have people I was cool with, and they'll make discouraging remarks. I remember asking a Mexican guy, I was listening to some rap song, Fat Joe, Puerto Rican, and he said something in Spanish. And I asked dude, I said, what does he say? And he's like, do I look like I'm from the South Side? And I'm like, I'm baffled, I'm befuddled. I'm like, what that got to do with it?
Yeah, that's the mindset.
I'm better than that to be speaking or learning. He knew Spanish. I know he did, but it was like, I'm like, I'm better than that. And I'm like, damn, and I'm thinking, I'm on the outside now. That's wow. And I know some people, they embrace that. They like, yeah. And they'll say things in Spanish and things like, and they embrace it. And the other ones look down on them for doing that. So that's an in-house conflict.
Yeah. You see how self-centered that is? We're still going, see the issues that I just named off, they haven't stopped for us African Americans. They go on every day that we wake up. And no one is still talking about our issues, but yet people are asking us to help them fight theirs. That is usury at its best. You don't have the decency to say, hold on for a second, man. I'm going to help you all fight your battle. And then once we beat this foe and all of that, then will you at least look at helping us? But you're steady talking about your issues, but you're not even mentioning ours. So to me, that's a slap in our face as a people, because we're still not even talking about our issues, but we're sitting here talking about other people wanting us and insisting on us to help them, when I think that's backwards. That's not even rational.
Yeah. If y'all have a comment and anything y'all want to call in, the call-in number is 361-405-6111. That's 361-405-6111. And we'll be interested to hear any conversation or commentary that you have. You don't have to agree with us. We just want to hear commentary and have that discussion, where we sit, where we stand.
Because I think
how
it's
we
important.
feel.
It's very important that we take an issue like this and we lay it out on the table, and let's be honest about it. See, we can't come to this table with all the skullduggery and all of the mess that some people try to bring to the table. If you're honest, and if I'm honest about it, there has never been a group of people, by and large, as a whole, that have stood beside the African American the way people want us to always run to other people's issues to solve. That's not going. It shouldn't work. That's foolish, to try to help other people, but yet you want to picket and fight and holler about what's going on to other people. But when our people are being done that bad and been done that wrong for over 400 years, but you won't open your mouth when they keep doing us.
And those are the people that I think that I wouldn't be. I'm not going to put that on the Hispanic community. I'm going to put that on anyone that doesn't help when there's a fight. When like I said, when there's a wrong being done, you should be on the side of what's right, regardless. Even if you speak up, you don't have to physically be there. You can speak up, support, show some support. But my thing is, when those people that talk against you And it's some of us that talk against it. I'm like, just stay out the way. I don't care if you with me or not. Just like with the voting thing, and I say, well, people say, you know, vote, vote, vote. I'm not going to talk down on what you're doing. I mean, I might not agree, but when it's that time, if you want me to do it, I do it, and I'm gonna stay out the way. I'm not going to sit up there and be acting like what you think, like you know, all this conversation that we having. But I was thinking of some crazy things when I came from New York. Down to Texas. Now up in New York, we had the Puerto Rican population, and then in Texas, it was heavily Mexican population. Totally different cultures, both Hispanic or Latino, depending on the title you want to carry. And I remember when I came down here, and I remember a lot of incidences that I had. Now I have a lot of Hispanic friends. I have a lot of Hispanic friends because I meet you and I greet you and bond with you on your own recognizance. I'm not looking at your culture. That's white friends. I don't care who it is. You stand on your own recognizance, meaning how you act and how you treat me is how I'm gonna treat you. I don't look at you like, oh, you this and that, and I don't want to be friends. I don't want to. And I think people get the wrong idea with that. But my thing is, when I came here, the first people that attacked my race was Mexican. And I was like, oh, that's how it is here. Because I remember, you know, when they get around, it's like when it's all of us around, you know, they understand it, but it's like by myself and it's like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and I'm like, wow, this is how it is. And I mean, the fights I was getting into was because I was being called a monkey or the N-word by these individuals when we're alone. So we're getting into skirmishes. But I came up in Fox Tech. It's a lot of Mexicans, a lot of blacks. You know, we got along cordially. It was like cool. Everyone, it's like it's two different cultures, but we got along. And it was no race fights and things like that. If a black person, a Mexican person got into it, the Mexicans gonna go for the Mexican, the black's gonna go for the black. That's normal. Whites gonna go for whites. But it was no racial war. It was just these two individuals. But I find that with us in the black community, we're more welcoming to people in our community than others are. Because if you go, and I'm saying back in New York, the Puerto Ricans that was in our neighborhood, we was very cool with them. We accepted them. We embraced them. But it was places that we couldn't go in New York that was a Puerto Rican neighborhood just because of who we were. And all of them wasn't like that, but some of them would be cool with us. But when we went to their neighborhood, it was like, hey, you got to get in and get out. You know? And it wasn't just them. It was Italian, Irish, all of that. It was segregated like that. People had their neighborhoods. But if you was a foreign person to that neighborhood, you had to get in and get out.
And I would say, to add to that, when you talk about ideally, when we talk about this, we do understand the pain that they're being targeted by a system. You know, blacks, we know it. And I don't need to sit here and go through all the things we've gone through. Everyone knows it's a given, okay? What we've gone through as far as being targeted by a system that's unfair, that's racist, that's bigoted, that's sexist, and all of that. But at the same time, we have to say that if we're going to talk about solidarity, that has to be a two-way street. And it's never been a two-way street. And it won't be a two-way street. So that's why we do sympathize with those people, because we have hearts, you see. But for us to stand out there and to fight more for other people's rights and things of that sort and won't say anything about ours or down us when we stand up for our rights, that is a disgrace and that's a shame.
Yeah, I'm gonna thank some of y'all that came in on Facebook. We both on Facebook and YouTube. Coretta, I appreciate you showing up, sister. She said, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to hear this. Okay. And Barbara Royal, appreciate you chiming in. Ladae Bishop, she said, good afternoon. Maria Saze, she said, Hotep, appreciate you. And Sakina said, Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Walaikum assalam, sister. Teresa Lewis, appreciate you showing up. She said, if Mexican history was taught, the brown community would realize the Battle of the Alamo was about slavery. We were unified at that time, you know, and actually, and I understand that. And that's the thing that we have to look at, because I think Mexico had a black president at that time. They abolished slavery. So we were standing with them. And what happened to untie the bond? I mean, we still have a bond. We don't have any issues with the Mexican community. The Mexican community don't have an issue with black community. We both have the same oppressor. And, but we're just not. We have to realize we're in different cultures, and it's not if you it's you're not going to always help us, and you haven't always helped us, and we're not going to always help you. We paved the way for a lot of people that came here.
That's right. That's right.
And that is where we stand. That's what we stand on. We paved the way. Like I said, civil rights and all these things. These are the rights that we fought for everybody. Martin Luther King mentioned the Mexicans and all these other people. You know, Malcolm X used to talk about people that wasn't even in this country. He was talking about other people, and he's talking about on a worldwide human rights. So we have had leaders that have fought for everyone. And this is what we have to realize. But like Teresa said, if brown history was taught correctly, if black history was taught correctly, then we'll see the young people to see that we have a bond. We do have a bond.
Historically speaking, I'm going to go back to what I said at least 20 minutes ago, and I want to stay on this. Historically speaking, when you look at the situation, Kev, you have to look at the historical facts. And sometimes we don't want to face the facts. And history shows us time and time again that a lot of the people that want us to help them, that are Latino or what have you, they're not interested in helping us. And I'm going to tell you why I say that, because I'm going to show you some numbers. I'm going to give you some statistics, because stats tells the tale. In 1848, after the Mexican Revolution, when Mexicans came here, they wanted to be classified as white. See, we don't want to tell the truth, man. And I don't mean we as you and I, I'm talking about as a society. They wanted to be white. See, nobody wanted to be, and I understand they don't want to be treated like that. But at the same time, that's what they wanted. In the early 1900s, Mexican labor migration. When the Mexican labor migration came, they gave jobs to many Mexicans. They did. Okay, so they needed to work agriculture, mining, railroad, et cetera, and et cetera. And so after the Mexican Revolution, they wanted to still be white. See, there was not a fight where they wanted to be like us, you see. And then in the 1942, 1964, there was a program that over 5 million Mexicans came in to work temporarily because there were shortages after World War II. Once again, what did they want to do? They didn't want you to call them black. They wanted to be white. 1959, when the Cubans came over here, they wanted to be classified as white because they wanted to say that their Spanish heritage was something that gave them their white privilege, if you will. And then in 1917, the Puerto Ricans, when they came over here, they had a choice when they fill out an application or something. They had to choose whether they were white, they were black, and then it has mulatto and it has other. Most of them chose white. These are what the censuses are telling us. So what I'm trying to tell everyone today is this: even though there are a lot of great people that are Hispanic, Latino, there are a lot of Latinos, Hispanic people that don't care about us. And I'm not going to sit here and make people think that everybody is for us when I'm telling you history tells us that right now.
All right.
History shows us that.
And this is how I think about all of that. When you have a country that has a caste system, and they give you a choice, what membership do you want to be in? Most people would choose white. Most people should choose white. If the white people, do you want to be treated like us? No, we don't want to be treated like us. So I understand people saying I'd rather be classified as this than that. And many of them people, the Cubans or the Puerto Ricans, they got people in their family that's dark as us. Even in their own culture, they have conflicts like that. Some of them say marry brighter and try to brighten their offspring and things like this. They do that in Africa. A lot of us, we try to marry white people and have mulatto kids, and we think that that's making us, and we want to merge and things like that. I understand people coming over here wanting to be classified. They not black, so they're not white. Yeah, but they're not white either. But I'm saying, if you get to choose, who do you want to be treated like? Whose rights do you want? Whose rights do you want?
You want the whites' rights, but you can't have it both ways. See, this is what we're talking about now. See, now you want to flip the script because you can't have it the way you want it, but you want to be white. So you choosing to be white. You want all the privileges of white people. And now that they're kicking you in the tail and doing things to you, now you want us to help you. That doesn't make sense to me. Right. And I do understand the idea where no one wants to identify with someone who's being belittled and treated bad. But yet, if that's the case, then keep it that way all the time. Don't flip when a foot is getting put up in your behind. To me, be honest about it.
To me, it's more egregious when people that are African come and act like that. To me, that's because then you want to separate from us, and it's not, I'm not black, I'm Nigerian,
Yeah.
whatever. But then when they treat you black, treat your Nigerian or Sudanese body like you black, then who you run to for protection in the black community? I hear people say, I'm not black, I'm Native American. We will doubt it. I'm not, well, they say I'm not African, I'm Native. Okay, then wait for the Native Americans to stand up for you when that police officer beat your butt on the side of the road and do that. Stick with that. I understand that mindset and the ideology. There are some people, a lot of the Mexicans that stood with us and fought their own battle that didn't have us in there. You had the Brown Berets. We had the Black Panther. They had the Brown Berets. You had some of those type things in New York with the Puerto Ricans. They had their own thing, but they're not the same. Where none of us are the same. And even us in our culture, we had the North, people in the North, people in the South. You know, and you look at Emmett Till, that stuff happened to y'all down there. They wasn't all engaged in our struggle, or we wasn't engaged in your struggle, because we was like, y'all are different. Y'all down south. So that was, to me, that's human nature, to differentiate from people that's being mistreated.
That's the point that's the very point I'm making. That you mentioned, the people in New York and other places, they did the Brown Berets, they fought their battle because that's what was affecting them. We fought our battle because that's what was affecting us. They didn't say to you, you need to go over there and fight my battle. That's the part that I'm on. And I get what you're saying, because you're right. That is human nature. But when people tell us, like the video we saw, when the guy had to straighten them out, when they're saying, where are the black folk? Them the people I'm talking to. You're not going to get us. You know, I'm not a fool for no one. I'm for people. I'm for justice. I'm for all of that stuff. But if you're not going to help me as a group of people, I'm not going to give you any passes to make you think that you're going to get some kind of help from me when I know you're not. You fight your battle, I'll fight my battle, and hopefully you win, because it's not right what they're doing to you. And I do have a heart. I understand that. But don't tell me that I got to go fight your battle because you need help, but yet you never reached out to fight our battles. That's all I'm saying.
And that's for those people. And in that video that you're talking about, I wish I'd have got the guys' names, but he shut up real quick.
Because
he realized that, and there was another Latino person telling him this, and the Latino sister that was a black Latino sister, she was saying most of the resistance she get is from our own people, you know. And this is another thing I like with my job. When I worked in San Antonio, and I'll go to the other side of town and I'll see a black person that I'm going there to do their internet or set up, whatever. And they wouldn't be from San Antonio. And I would ask them, like, okay, where you from? I'm from Detroit. And I'm like, oh yeah. And they asked me, say, where are the black people at? Blah, blah, blah. I said, well, you got to go southeast side, northeast side, blah, blah, blah. But then I get into conversations with them and I ask them, like, what do you think of San Antonio? A lot of times they'll tell me it's racist here. And I'm like, you see a lot of white people here? They're like, oh no, it's the Mexicans. And I'm like, wow. So I hear this, and then I heard this from another person, another person. I'm thinking, why are we like this? Because the Mexican people I know, none of them treat me like that. You know, a lot of them are friendly people, and I know we have different cultures. I know we have differences and all this stuff like that, but they seem to be embracing and cool people to me. But when people tell me that, and I have friends that told me that, now you know, my best friend, one, he was like, man, first time I've been called the N-word was from Mexican kids, like da da da. And I know I'm not absolving their race from being like that, but I know that that's not all of them, and it was not all of us. Like I say, I take people on their own recognizance. But the thing that I wanted to get at, the job I had before I had this one, it was Mexican skinheads, and I didn't understand. And the Mexicans that was there, it was two guys. They dressed in the boots. They had their head shaved, and they had, you know, they dressed a certain way. And the Mexicans were saying, yeah, they damn skinheads. And I'm like, I'm bewildered. I'm like, how does that work? But see, but not. So I'm on edge with them. When I see them, I'm like, you know, I ain't saying, hey, how's it going? I'm like, what's up? And then they like, hey, what's up, man? Like, they was talking like that. Now, I don't know how that would have been if I was in a different environment. Would have been more. See, that's befuddling to me, that some of these people think that they're better, or they're
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand. But to me, that's a fight within house.
Right.
Y'all clean that up. Don't tell me, oh, they skin. Treat them that way. Like, you know, what the hell is wrong with you?
They've been taught that. They've been socialized that way. And instead of doing their research, like Sister Teresa said, that's how they have been taught. And this is what they have digested. And this is how many of them view the world. That's why I never understood, living in San Antonio, Texas, why a Mexican or Hispanic would say, remember the Alamo. I never understood why they would chant that, in a sense, because in 1836, March the 6th, 1836, that was a battle where the Hispanics under Santa Anna, where they came to take this place because it was theirs. So when they killed the people at the Alamo, the Americans, when the Americans came back under General Houston, when he came back, they started killing the Mexicans at the Battle of San Jacinto. And they were crying, remember the Alamo. So they were killing them. They were killing the Mexicans saying, remember the Alamo. So if I'm a Mexican or Hispanic, why would I say to you, remember the Alamo, when they were killing your people?
That you're affiliated with the U.S. and American side of I'm an American, and I don't associate with the Mexicans as being one of us. And the whole story of that Santa Ana, they were coming there because the settlers here that Americans see as heroes, Davy Crockett and Travis and all of these guys, they had slaves. Mexico had abolished slavery. And this was a Mexican territory. They allowed them to be there. When they found out they had slaves there, they're like, hey, y'all can't do this. And they was like, we doing it anyway. And if y'all mess with us, you know, we gonna fight. And like, we gonna have the U.S. come help us fight. So that's what that whole thing was about. Them being in the territory, that they was allowed to be there. But when they had slaves, they were breaking the law. And that's what the whole thing is, you know, and that's why when they killed all of them, they didn't kill the slaves. They let us go. They let the black people go. That's like, you know, and they told them basically, go out the slaves, release the slaves, the women, and y'all could go out the back. And the story saying that Davy Crockett tried to dress up in a dress and run out the back. Y'all get on. So, but that's what the history, the real history say. But what you're saying and what Teresa's saying is, they don't know the real history. You know, they've been taught a false history, like we have been taught a false history. And this is when you have people that's taught a false history, you're going to have a lot of chaos and misunderstanding. This is why Trump and them and all these people, they're destroying educational programs, things that will enlighten us or help us being more enlightened. And that will help us get along better with each other if we had a better understanding of what we've been through.
Exactly. And this is why it is so chaotic the way it is today. Because you got so much going on, you know, you got people who have a million different opinions on what's really going on. But what really is happening is we live in a racist society, and it's going to always, I don't care who you are, where you come from, they're not going to allow any of us to try to get the power that we're supposed to be fighting for when it comes to our ethnicity or our so-called race. They're going to continue to make sure white supremacy, white superiority is always at the top. And no matter what you say or do, if you try to usurp that, and sometimes you don't have to, because these people aren't bothering anybody. They're going to these grocery stores, they're going to doctors' offices, and out here they're going to places and sitting around in these trucks and cars. They're waiting for people to come out. I even heard they have where they'll send you a document where you have to come to court. When you come to court, they're going to apprehend you in court because they know you're going to show up. That's duplicity at its best. But once again, white supremacy is like that. It'll do anything it can, even when you're not bothering it, to make sure that it shows you, I have the power, I'm going to remain in control.
And when you're saying white superiority or white supremacy, that's racism. That's the only racism in America. So get that out your vocabulary. Say, well, it's black people that's racist, or it's Mexican people that's racist, because you have no power. You have no control over anybody else's education or their religious beliefs, or you can't implement Mexican Jesus and make other people. You can do it at your house, but you don't have the dominance to do it. So that's the only racist people, or the people that have racism, is the white people in America. People don't like to hear that. They like to say, well, everybody's you don't understand what racism is. Bigotry, prejudice, is typical things, stereotyping people. That's different than racism. So I'm not going to sit here and say the Mexicans are racist. You don't have that control of that power. Black people are not racist. We are not imposing anything on anybody else. So the only racism here is white superiority racism.
And you can take on some of those ideologies, though. Like he said, we cannot be racist if you're Mexican African American or what have you, but the ideals that they sold to us about us, you can take those on and then turn them against your own people. And this is where the problem is, and this is where the teaching comes in. And then some of it, Kev, I'm being honest about this. Some of it is this. Some people hate us so much. They don't care what happens. They're going to side with other people because they don't want to affiliate. We have been seen as the scum of the earth, the wretched of the earth in many people's eyes. And no matter what you say, no matter what I say, and we're not trying to get people to look at us in favor all the time. I'm just saying that this country is so racist, and the tendencies that has gone out, the ideologies, some people despise us just because we look the way we, they don't know anything about you or anything about me, but they don't like you. And every time you get a chance to open up, especially in business, in the business world, in the entertainment field, at the end of the day, that's why we always complain about when someone gets done wrong that looks like us. We always say that that's not right, you know, because we don't have the means to make sure that it's done right. So we have to complain because those ideologies have been picked up by people of all ethnicities, even some Black people, because this is what they've been fed and they believe it and they don't know how to rebut that.
And I think this is what causes the divide between a lot of the cultures, because they thinking in this caste system that they're thinking they're more than you. I mean, people are supposed to have that pride.
Right.
You know, my people is this, but when you're thinking just off of a race that you're better than someone, that's when there's a problem. And if you don't know the history and you don't know everything that we've done with you, and I'm gonna say this, like I brought up Cesar Chavez. What, May the 31st is Cesar Chavez Day. That was implemented or created by Barack Obama.
Okay.
The Black since Cesar Chavez has been doing all the stuff he was doing, and his movement in mid 1900 America. I think he was born in 1927. His birthday, I believe, is March 31st. That's why it's Cesar Chavez Day. No president acknowledged him, but a Black president acknowledged him. You know, but then you have, and that shows that we care about minorities. We care about discrimination. We care about acknowledging minorities. And like I said, we are welcoming and embracing people. If you look at Walk on the River that Brother Undar and Brother Logic created here in San Antonio, the history of San Antonio, those artists and actors, the white people that came and that wasn't prejudice anything, when they came to San Antonio, they would come to our clubs in our community, and the Mexicans were invited, were because they said it was documented that they said coming to the Black clubs, that's where it was happening, because it was other people there. It was white people, it was Mexican people, it was Black people, because we were embracing. We was embracing people that we didn't care, and we wasn't discriminating like this. But sometimes that script isn't flipped on the other side. You know, you can't go to these other people because, and understand, when you come to a place, this is like a juvenile mind. People do this in high school. If they treat a certain group of people a certain way, if you want to be with the in crowd, you got to be treating them a certain way too. You can't go and eat lunch at the same table with them. Like, get away from me, y'all are nerds, whatever the group is. Everyone that didn't like them, if you wanted to be cool and in the in crowd, you didn't like them as well.
And this is why looking at history and understanding what happens in cultures and how people are brainwashed and just minds taken, it's important. When Montezuma II, Hernan Cortez goes to the place that they call Mexico from Spain, and he goes into Mexico and he basically takes over and makes them speak Spanish and treats them like dogs, the people that live in Mexico. Father Hidalgo, which was a priest who was fighting tooth and nail, he had a problem with his own people because he was trying to liberate his people's minds, because he was a Mexican priest, but he was a fighter, you see. But the people in Mexico, many of them, because they were afraid, because what you just mentioned, they wanted to be like other people, they turned on him. So Father Hidalgo, Montezuma, these were great men in my estimation. These were Hispanic or Mexican men. But when Hernan Cortez came over to Mexico in 1519, he turned Mexico upside down. And to this day, we still struggle with that when it comes to people who live in Mexico, who will tell us the truth about how Montezuma II and how Father Hidalgo, they were real freedom fighters as opposed to the people that's there. Many of the people now.
And I'm gonna say this about the whole topic and subject: where we stand. Should we protest with the Hispanics? I know there was some things going on with some strawberry company, and they were not treating them right, and people, the Hispanic and the Mexican people that I know on social media, there's like boycott this. So I boycott it. It was like a strawberry company. I mean, because I have no problem if I see wrong being done. And sometimes it is reciprocated, because I see a lot of them on social media talk about the things that's happening and the racism that's happening. So I take people as individuals. Now, when I'm talking about the culture, I'm talking about as a group. It's like it's a 50-50 thing. You know, you got people in your own group that's not down with you. Now, some of those people are down with us, and I'm cool with a lot of people that's down. They anti-Trump, they anti-system, and they're for our fight, and they're all this stuff like this. But then you got a group of them that's not.
Them the ones I'm talking about.
And see, that's what, if we're talking about them, then I want to differentiate and don't say the Mexicans, because when you do that, you're putting all of them together when you say the Mexicans. So the Mexicans that have that type of mindset, that superiority mindset, that even thinking they're superior to some of the people that come across the border, like they see a link to them. Or like I say, some of the guy that said something, I don't speak Spanish, but I look like I'm from the west side or the south side. I'm saying, so you from the northwest side, that makes you better than them or whatever. And that's just a section of town. And then the people that's over here, they think they better than the people in Mexico. And then you have the same lineage. It's just like us here thinking we were better than the Africans because we were taught that way, that they were we used to say, you African booty snatcher, scratcher, or whatever. Or what, and those were things because we didn't know. We were uneducated about our own history. And like you were bringing down history, that's great. And I think that if like Teresa said, if they were taught their own history, if they were taught our history and we were taught their history, and the Asians and whatnot, then we will understand that we will bond together and be a stronger force.
Yeah, and they should, and see, when I say Mexicans, especially when I'm talking, I don't mean at all. And we do it all the time. When we say all the people did this, that's not a literal all, but we do understand that there are some people in the Mexicans, Hispanics, whatever you want to call them, Latinos, there are some beautiful people out there. We know that. But then there are some that's not like what we're talking about. And the ones that I've been talking about since we've been on this broadcast are the ones on the podcast that you sent me, where they were trying to insist that we help them. Them the ones I'm talking to.
And that was the one out of the three that was on the broadcast. And the sister that was Latina, she was talking about how we got to correct this. The other dude on there was like, we got to correct this ourselves. This is in-house. And I'm going to say it like this. When all this social media stuff is going on, and if some of y'all think of it like this, it's in social media right now, it's a lot of black man versus black woman versus black man. Nobody else steps in and say, y'all need to stop this, or y'all should treat y'all woman like this, because that's not their business. It's like, that's an in-house thing. They look at it and maybe shake their head or just keep going, because that's us, against us. And this is the same thing that I'm talking about in their culture. Let them get that stuff together, and then that's gonna correct their own issues. But you can't go into a split house. You can't go there and try to be a peacemaker or make up for the other half, because what you're doing, you're fighting the losing battle. We got our own battles to fight.
That's true.
That's what the whole polls told us. This is what the polls told us. Without the elections, it's a different story as far as I'm concerned. But once I see that this is what you did, you went for this guy that's a known racist, white supremacist,
felon,
idiot, loose cannon, and then he talks down on your people, and you excuse that. So to me, you got to get that fight together. And y'all got to have that civil war within yourselves or within your household. And then you could talk about who should be helping.
So the question then that we asked at the beginning of the broadcast, is this our fight? When we're talking about ICE, that question has been unanimously answered between you and I, because I think we both on the same page. And the answer is, this is not our fight. And it's okay. It's okay to say that, Kev.
Yeah,
some of us, not you, but I'm saying some of us, we want to be accommodating, like you said. We want to always run to, we call the guys like that today Captain Saver, what. But we can't always run to other people and save them. So I know what you're saying, and I agree with you 100%. But there are some of us who feel like every time something happens, we got to run to rescue them. And that's not true. That's not true. We can't do that. That's impossible.
Right. And man, we having a problem saving ourselves, really. To be honest, I'm gonna read a comment from Teresa Lord. She said, many Mexican American men do not feel a woman of any color should be a leader over this country, so they could not bring themselves to vote for Kamala. She said they voted for the less qualified candidate because he was a man for that reason. Reap what you sow. They have an educated female president leading Mexico. And wow, so that's a turnaround.
Yeah,
that's just showing. And I mean, it's tough. I can't say that we shouldn't. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. I don't believe we should, because some people are on moral grounds, and it's like it doesn't matter. Just like I remember the brother that got shot by the cops in his mother's or grandmother's backyard in Sacramento. I forgot his name, but he said some derogatory things about black people and black women. He's black himself, but he had a Asian girlfriend or wife or baby mama, and he said everything under the sun that was negative about being black. He's like, I don't even want my PlayStation to be black. But then so when he got, so that was a dilemma to me, like, okay, it's still police brutality. If we're fighting police brutality, you can't pick and choose. Some people could argue you can't pick and choose just because it's another black person that you don't like being killed, because it's not about that person individually, because that's what they do. With Trayvon, he did this, or Mike Brown, he was a bully. Right. He was a bully, and he was this. No, the whole thing we're arguing is police brutality of killing us on the street. So it was like, that's a dilemma, because it's hard to fight with somebody or fight for someone that's not with you, even if it's one of us. So if an African, a person that comes from Nigeria, since I'm Nigerian down now, if they come over here and they act like as if they're better than us, and then they get beat and brutalized by the police, the same thing that our group is supposed to be fighting against, how do we stand on that? Do we say, you know what, it's still wrong, I don't care about the individual and what his lifestyle was, you're not supposed to do that, and this is what we're against? Or we're gonna say, okay, because he's act like this or he said this, I don't care. We have so many dilemmas, and you and I, we don't have all the answers, but at least we're men enough to say we'll put them out there. We'll give the people an opportunity to look at it. And like I said, we didn't get any calls, but I'm sure a lot of people have mindsets on what we're talking about, because it's so prevalent. All you got to do is go on YouTube, go on social media, and you're going to see someone saying something as if we're wrong for not helping others, when we're saying we're not wrong. That's not our battle. That's your battle. I mean, it's up to the individual. I'm not going to tell another person, a black person or anybody, they're wrong for fighting against anything that they deem is wrong. I mean, that's your battle. As far as like I'm concerned, I don't think we should. Now, if a bunch of black people showed up, I'm gonna be like, man, that is so cool. That's what we do. We come there, we come to the rescue, and that's cool. And that's a show of solidarity. I would think that's cool if I saw that, but I don't think we should, because they, like I said, that's in home thing, because you voted against our interests too. Not only for your interests, you voted against our interests. And it was a black candidate. So, you went for the other candidate, and you went for the other candidate that's doing these things to you. So you brought this basically upon yourself, or you brought this upon not yourself, but you brought this upon your own people.
See, I think too, Kev, I think that some of the people that voted for this man, this monster, some of the people, they didn't know it was going to be like this.
How could they not?
Well, I'm talking about what he's doing in ICE. I think they knew that he was that way, because they knew he had felons. We all know that. But when it comes to, that's why the protests are so great now, because, and I know not everybody, but I'm sure there are many people who voted for this man.
Right.
I'm sure that some of them are saying in their minds, I didn't know he was going to do this. Now we're saying that you should have known, because he showed you how he was.
When the people that's in bed with him, when they see a Hispanic person and they start chanting, build a wall, build a wall, build that wall, only because you're Hispanic. And it's like they're doing that to knock you. So when you see who's in bed with this person that you're in bed with, then all them fleas going to be together. So you're putting yourself in that category. You hear the rhetoric of those that support him. Whether you think you're going to be immune to that or not, that shows that you think that you're immune, and so it's okay. And that's the problem right there. And a lot of black people that vote for Trump is like, I hear a lot of people, some people in my family, like, oh man, now it's going to be money, money, money. Okay, brother, well, you know what? That's what drives you, and you're going to ignore everything else over money. So that tells me where money stands with your morals and your ethics. So you would go with this person because you're thinking that he's going to do this with the stock market, and you're going to get a little cash. But it's not going to stop the things that's really important to our community, because you're worried about an individual, yourself.
And my heart, our hearts, they go out to the people. our hearts go out to people who are being picked up in grocery stores, people who are being picked up on the streets, who just because of how they look. You know, our hearts have to go out to those types of people, because that's not something that's right. That's not fair. That's not equitable. That's a system that we live in that's racist, that's showing its ugly head, because it shows itself every day. But this is at an all-time low, to take a grandmother who went to the grocery store and sit in a car and wait, and then run up on her and grab her and throw her in a vehicle and take that. That doesn't make sense. This is what is happening to a lot of these people, and we have to have that type of heart, and we do. But all we're saying is, when it comes to this whole fight of the ICE and all of that, that's something that they should handle in-house, because that's their situation. Because our situation, they're not grabbing us like that, and we don't want to sound condescending, but that's the reality.
And well, I mean, that's a sad way to think about it. It's not happening to us, because my thing is, it's gonna happen to all of us at one point or another.
Well, it's happened to us already.
And I mean, it's gonna like if I think about, I have, you know, people I know that's Muslim, and they were anti Harris, and bashing Harris every chance they got. And I'm like, but this is the guy that was banning, putting a Muslim ban on, you know, and talks bad about, and you black and you're Muslim, that's different. And they still and understanding that these are your people too, no, regardless. So if you're standing there and you think that you're going to be immune, you think you're going to be immune to the virus that's festering in this country, you're going to be next. So we stand divided. It's going to be our turn, and they're going to start doing things, and they're going to, I mean, it's not like I'm talking about like what we've been through. It's going to be what's going to be on the horizon. So then who's going to stand with us, because we're not standing with them, and then we're having our own fight, and everyone has their own fight. That's what the system wants. You know, stand there and watch. The bully could stand there and beat one person up, and he could beat up one. Everybody's sitting there like, oh, I'm glad it's not me. Then when that person is no longer there, then who's the bully? Ain't gonna stop being a bully. He gonna grab the next person, and then you're gonna be the center of attention, and all the Jews and the Muslims gonna be sitting there, and you're gonna be getting your butt kicked. The Asians gonna be standing back. Then you think you're down with the bully because you cheering them on. Oh man, you did him. Like the next thing you know, he gonna snatch you up, because what it is white supremacy, racism, and they're not down with any of us.
No. And we should continue to fight the fights that we have, because we're not really off the hook now. We're talking about this, but we're doing it in context, because that's the topic right now. That's the big thing that's going on. But, you know, we still have our fights that's still facing us every day. So we're not sitting here saying that, you know, we're sitting in the back and everything is happening to other people and our hands are clean. No, we still have the issues that we face every day. We have to be honest about that, and be willing to continue to fight the fight that we're fighting on a daily basis when it comes to our people being abused and extorted and exploited.
All right. So y'all tell me this. If y'all could comment one by one or whatever, yay or nay. If you was if you was on a committee for the Black Americans or African Americans in the United States, and you were on some committee where had some leadership group, and we gonna vote whether we should go out there and be doing a protest or whatever. Should we do a different type of protest? I don't think we should be on the front line with them at all. I think we should support them. This is me in a different type of way. Right. But you know, yay or nay? Where should we stand? Should we go stand with them, or should we just say this is not our fight? Yay or nay? You could do this after the show and just comment yay or nay.
Because a lot of us, Kev, you know, I like doing these broadcasts with you. In many instances, not all the time, because sometimes you bust my chops. You know, I don't want to be around you before the broadcast and after we get into it. But seriously speaking, because this is real, man. The subjects that we're talking about, man, these are everyday events that affect us in some way or some form or some fashion. And we have to be honest about the discussion. See, we can't be on this broadcast, you know, shucking and jiving and acting like everything is great. It's not. It's a war. These people are being done so bad, man. It's my words aren't doing any justice to how these people are being treated, you know, and that's not fair. But all we're saying is, when there's an issue, we have to look at it, intellectualize it, have a heart, and see what's best for us. And right now, what's best for us is we can support them in certain ways, but this is really not something that's our fight as we started to begin.
And anyone that wants to join in any struggle that we have, listen, this is what I feel. If you're part of the homosexual community, the brown community, the Jewish community, the Asian community, or women's rights, do it within your group. Don't try to infiltrate and join our group. And bring all of that stuff with us. Because if it's just as like they're going through this deportation and all the things that they're being discriminated against with and treated badly, and then we come and we want to join their fight, but we want to bring our issues too and start talking about the stuff happening to us. No, you don't do that. If I come to you with a problem, I say, man, you know, my wife wanted a divorce and all this stuff, and then you're like, yeah, man, and this is my problem too. No, dude, I came to talk to you because I got a problem. So you don't agree, and this is what they do with us. They want to bring their problems into our struggle when we're saying Black Lives Matter, and they want to bring all these other groups their thing because they want to stand with us in solidarity. No, you stand with us in solidarity for the fight that's happening with us, or you have your fight, or you go. And my thing is, have your group demonstrate and do that. And that don't try to infiltrate and bring it into us. You could have the brown battle over here. We could have the black battle. And they could have the yellow battle or whatever. And that's all I'm saying. That's what I think we should do. That's me personally.
That's really spot on, because I'm reminded of Malcolm X on the steps of one of the government houses. A white girl came to him and she was sincere. She was very sincere when she says, Malcolm, you know, basically I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, what can I do? You know, I'm really down for what you're saying. What can I do? And he basically told her that in a nutshell. He says, okay, if you're really down, just go and start your own group, you and your people, and then y'all fight. And that makes a lot of sense. He didn't want her to come in, and because most of the times, most of the groups that we have, what do? You mentioned it. They infiltrate the Black Panthers. They infiltrate the Nation of Islam. They infiltrate, you know, and then what happens is it becomes something that it shouldn't be, as opposed to, no, start your own, and then we'll see if you are making progress, you fight that battle and I'll fight that battle. We're both fighting for the same
it's
cause.
Just like having a right hook and a left hook. We ain't all on the right, you know, throwing it together. And then, you know, that's how I feel. So I see a lot of people say nay so far, and I guess you convinced them, man. I tried to be the flower child, like and I'm like, okay, have a heart, you know, and all this stuff like this. I'm gonna read some of the comments. Barbara, of course, she said, hell no, let them fight their battle. Sakina said, nay. I appreciate those comments. Barbara said, so unfair indeed, but that isn't our fight. Go march in Washington. And hopefully they'll take that to heart. Teresa says, some of their own people do not want to help them. I feel bad for them, but do not think we can help them. We have our own battles to fight. I appreciate that. Coretta Cole said, my heart goes out to them. It's sad, but this is not it's not for us.
You know, that's that Jah and Kev. That's that Jah and Kev audience, right?
So Jah won today, because I'm thinking that and I lost the bet. I thought that we was gonna have a little heart, and
we do have a heart.
I brought up our history and how our leaders have
sisters and brothers. Let me straighten him out on this. The first, I'm gonna deal with him right now on this broadcast. He said that he thought that we were gonna have a heart. We do have a heart. We have the biggest heart you can have. All we're saying is this is not ours. That's all. We still love them. We still do what we can, but we're not going to get out there and put ourselves in harm's way, because that's something that they should do, you know. And I think that's basically what, in seriousness, that's what we're saying. And another one just came in, not our battle, and they understand.
Our battle. I understand, and that's how I feel. Like I said, I don't want to literally do it, but figuratively, we should fight. I mean, stand with them, show our support in some type of way. Like I said, I don't want to see, like, when they snatching kids out of grade schools, because I know the beast that they're fighting against. I'm not concerned more so with them. I'm looking at the beast. I'm looking at that beast that's attacking the innocent, and it's going to continue. You could feel like that beast was going to walk past you, and it didn't, and it attacked you. And I'm still knowing that beast is out there, and it's going to be hungry again. And that's what I'm looking at. I think that the solidarity should have been shown at the polls, but when you bring it on yourself, and like they say, when we have these police video stops, they like, well, Sandra Bland, she should have just obeyed. You know, you're talking about but she shouldn't have been dead, period. This is not an incident, an isolated incident. This is the nature of the beast that we have to deal with constantly. So if you're not empathizing or sympathizing, then you can't expect us to empathize, because we should be empathetic to anybody, because we've been going through it more than just about anybody. You know, say for the Native Americans in this country, they don't have a group basically to enough people to fight it anymore. But we've been going through it, so we empathize and we have the sympathy. But when there's something happens to us, this is what I'm listening to a lot. When things happen, it's so many people that don't have that empathy, and you try to tell us what we did wrong in this instant, but we're tired of this. When we're out there fighting for George Floyd and all the things that happen, we're tired of this. And people, and some of us, we have to tell that too. It's an internal fight. We're tired. Well, we don't do that here in this time. Well, when it happens to your child, tell me how you're going to react.
Exactly. My mother, and we're going to end on this because we're going over time, but you know, and this is a serious thing I'm about to say. So I hope people that are listening to this will take it in context, because, you know, Kev and I both have two big hearts of love. And to all those people that are out there, our Hispanic brothers and sisters that may be watching, those brown people that may be watching, to those who didn't get caught up in all this, who they stood by us as far as they didn't want us to be in a situation we're in. They didn't vote for this clown. They still down for justice and all that. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the ones who thought they were better than us. Those who said, I'm gonna vote for this man because this man is going to help me. I don't want to associate myself with any African Americans. They're the scum of the earth and all that. I'll leave you with this. My mother used to tell me this all the time. You make your bed. Now you got to lie in it. Right. You got to lie in it.
And from the great Maya Angelou, she said, if somebody tells you who they are, believe them. And the polls told us what your group is. Your group is divided. Your group is against each other. You know, your own interests. So your group is standing there that voted for this clown and watching the devastation within your own community. And now all they plan to do is make you a more of a minority in a Democrat. They're trying to save time because they're getting older, and they're getting their numbers are declining. So what they have to do, your numbers are increasing quicker than anybody else's. So you're that target. You're the one that's the target right now. So they have to either get y'all out, or they're going to start killing y'all the best way they can. You better heed those words, because this is why they went to the mall in El Paso. The guy drove from Dallas, and no, this is like recent history. But this is why those things is happening, because they are worried about America looking differently 30 years from now.
And anybody that would treat people the way they're treating these people, anybody that would treat them the way they're doing, locking people up, going and taking people, you are dirty, you are rotten, you are the scum of the earth, you're no good. And I have to say that because that's what they are. I'm not going to sit here and say you're good. That's evil, that's wicked. You are the scum of the earth to treat people that way.
Well, that's what they joined it for, that reason. They joined ICE for that reason. They believe in that cause, and they're going to, then some of them join the police force for that reason. They want to be having legal backing to do the things they want to do to you and do to me and do to those people and all this stuff like that. So that's what but the reality, hopefully we'll see, you know, after all of this goes on, where America takes its turn at, where you're going to be at now.
Okay. Tune in and watch us on the first and the third Tuesday of every month at 6:30 Central Standard Time. I'm Jah, and that's your boy Kev, and we'll see y'all in a few weeks.
Peace.
Wow.